From the outset of the conflict in Ukraine, Russia has attempted to establish clear red lines actions by Ukraine, or its Western allies, that Moscow has declared unacceptable and would trigger a significant escalation. However, the nature and location of these red lines have been frustratingly ambiguous, shifting with the tides of the conflict. Initially, Russia focused on preventing Ukraine from joining NATO and receiving advanced weaponry from the West. As the war progressed and Russia faced unexpected setbacks, the red lines seemed to multiply and become more fluid. Attacks on Russian soil, especially those targeting symbolic assets or perceived centers of power, have been met with furious rhetoric but limited military response. This ambiguity has created a dangerous guessing game, with Ukraine and its allies attempting to gauge the Kremlin's true tolerance for escalation. The question remains: what will it take for Russia to perceive a transgression of its red lines as an existential threat, warranting a full-scale and potentially catastrophic response? The Kerch Strait Bridge, also known as the Crimean Bridge, stands as a potent symbol of Russia's annexation of the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. A marvel of engineering, the bridge connects Russia to Crimea, solidifying its claim over the territory. For Ukraine, the bridge represents a tangible manifestation of Russian aggression and a vital artery for supplying its military operations in southern Ukraine. The bridge has been targeted multiple times by Ukrainian forces, utilizing a combination of ingenious maritime drones and long-range missile strikes. Each attack has inflicted significant damage, disrupting traffic and highlighting the vulnerability of this critical infrastructure. Russia's response to these attacks has been a mix of fury and pragmatism. While condemning the strikes as acts of terrorism, Moscow has refrained from a full-scale escalation. Instead, efforts have been focused on repairing the damage and bolstering defenses around the bridge, a testament to its strategic importance. In recent months, Ukraine has demonstrated its growing ability to strike deep inside Russian territory, with drone attacks targeting the capital city of Moscow. While largely symbolic, these attacks have shattered the sense of security within Russia, bringing the war home to a population largely shielded from the conflict's realities. The drones, often launched from Ukrainian territory or potentially by pro-Ukrainian operatives within Russia, have targeted various locations in and around Moscow, including government buildings, military installations, and affluent suburbs. Although the damage inflicted has been relatively minor, the psychological impact has been significant. Russia has attempted to downplay the significance of these attacks, portraying them as nuisance raids easily thwarted by its air defense systems. However, the images of drones penetrating the skies above Moscow, coupled with the disruption to daily life, have exposed vulnerabilities in Russia's defenses and sown seeds of unease among its citizens. The Kursk Gambit, testing Russia's resolve. Ukraine's incursion into the Kursk region, a border oblast within Russia, marked a significant escalation of the conflict. This bold move, involving ground troops penetrating Russian territory, aimed to relieve pressure on Ukrainian forces elsewhere and test the resolve of the Russian military. The operation, while limited in scope and duration, succeeded in capturing several Russian soldiers and exposing weaknesses in Russia's border defenses. The response from Moscow was surprisingly muted, with limited reinforcements deployed to the region and a notable lack of retaliatory strikes against Ukrainian territory. This measured response suggests that Russia, despite its rhetoric, remains wary of engaging in a wider conflict. The incursion into Kursk may be part of a broader Ukrainian strategy to probe for weaknesses, exploit vulnerabilities, and force Russia into costly and strategically disadvantageous deployments. Ukraine's high-stakes gamble. Provoking a wider conflict, Ukraine's increasingly audacious attacks within Russia, while strategically sound in terms of disrupting supply lines and undermining morale, carries significant risks. By striking targets within Russia, Ukraine risks provoking a wider conflict, potentially dragging NATO into a direct confrontation with Moscow. The strategy appears to be twofold. Firstly, by demonstrating its ability to hit targets within Russia, Ukraine aims to deter further aggression and force Moscow to reconsider its objectives. Secondly, these attacks could be seen as a way to pressure NATO into providing more advanced weaponry, including long-range missiles and fighter jets. However, this strategy relies on a delicate balancing act. If Russia perceives these attacks as existential threats or believes that the West is complicit in orchestrating them, the Kremlin may feel compelled to respond with overwhelming force, potentially escalating the conflict to a catastrophic level. The global implications. Navigating the unpredictable. The conflict in Ukraine has shattered the post-Cold War security architecture in Europe, ushering in an era of heightened tensions and uncertainty. The prospect of a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia, once unthinkable, now looms as a distinct possibility. The international community is grappling with how to navigate this volatile landscape. While supporting Ukraine's right to defend itself, Western nations are acutely aware of the risks associated with escalating the conflict. A delicate balance must be struck between providing Ukraine with the means to resist Russian aggression and avoiding actions that could trigger a wider war. The outcome of this conflict will have profound implications for global security, redefining the relationship between Russia and the West and shaping the future of Europe. As the war enters its second year, the stakes have never been higher and the path forward remains fraught with danger and uncertainty.